Eastern Time. And as you know, on Wednesdays in hour number 2, we dedicate that time to fantasy football. And this is Fantasy Football in Focus. NFL Week 13, 2023-24 season, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Make sure you head out to the Wildcat 7 days a week. Watch all of your football games there and more. Of course, you can watch the NBA, college basketball, college football, the NFL, and baseball when it comes back. Obviously, you can watch hockey. So many great things going on at the Wildcat Sports Pub. They have a phenomenal expanded room that has a stage where I get to do my shows monthly. They also have music acts that come in. You can rent out that room with the giant screen and the stage and the leather couches and all of that. You could rent out that room for your party, for, if you have a Christmas party coming up, a holiday party, if you have a banquet for your team, an anniversary, a wedding, family get-together, whatever it may be, whatever reception you may have, make sure you call 315-487-2222. You can also call that number for takeout and delivery, 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat Sports Pub. And make sure you head over there today. Their food is fantastic. And I was there on Monday with the 2023 Section 3 Class AA champions, West Genesee girls volleyball. Had a great time with Carrie Corley, as well as Cheryl Meany and the entire team, including the captains that I got to sit down with, Cammie Zajac, as well as Sonia Dunham, and of course Claire DeVore. So very much appreciate all of the wonderful student athletes that were there with me, as well as Cheryl and Carrie on the coaching staff, and all of the families that were there at the Wildcat that always show up to support the Wildcat Sports Pub, West Genesee Wildcats, and Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So God bless and I thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart, very much so. So thank you so much. God bless you, and I appreciate you more than I can say. Fantasy football in focus. Let's get into it. NFL Week 13. Folks, as you know, here's the rundown. You see the schedule next to me. That schedule is going to go from top to bottom. We're going to go Thursday night to Monday night. So if you tune into the show and you're at some point in the show and you don't know, did he talk about Denver, Houston? Well, if I'm talking about Miami, Washington in this case, Denver, Houston's coming up next. If I'm talking about Kansas City, Green Bay, you got to go back a little bit to find Denver, Houston. So we do everything in order from the top down. We talk about the road team first and then the home team here in Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. If you have any questions, I ask that you send them in. Now, if you're watching this on playback, then you can send in your questions to me, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. But if you're watching it live, it's an even better way to interact with me because we can have a live conversation about your questions that come in. So if you have a question, if you have something on your mind about your fantasy football team specifically, waiver wire, free agency, trades, who should I bench, who should I start, all that good stuff, you could talk to me about it right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of Fantasy Football in Focus. All you got to do is send those questions to our live feeds, and I will be proud to answer them. So you can send them to any one of the feeds that you see on your screen. And for those of you on Podbean, I have no problem reading them to you. So you can go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, or on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Wherever you are, anywhere in the world, you can write to us, and I will be happy to answer your questions in real time as they come in. So make sure you send those questions over to us today, and happy to help you with your fantasy football planning as we move forward and get closer and closer to your playoff season. Some of you might be going into the playoffs right now as we're here in Week 13, but around Week 14, Week 15, I anticipate that many of us will have our leagues in the postseason. Some of you play daily fantasy, so that is not of your concern, right? The postseason, because you're just playing week by week. But make sure you send in those questions so that we can help you with your daily fantasy as well as your league fantasy play. If you have a question, send it over to us. Make sure you hit subscribe while you're here. And let us know where you hail from, because I always love shouting out hometowns or wherever you currently are to give some love to our listeners and our viewers from all over the country and the world. So with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we're going to get into our first game of the week, and that is going to be Thursday Night Football. And Thursday Night Football is going to see Seattle at Dallas. Do want to let you know really quick here, the teams that are on bye, you could see them all above me, but just in case, and obviously for those of you on Podbean, on internet streaming radio, I'll read these to you as well. Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, and Ravens are going to be off this week. So do not play any of these teams, players, defense, special teams, or whatever, unless you want to accumulate 0 points and waste a spot on your roster. Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, Ravens, do not play any of them. So make sure that you have that written down so that you don't make the mistake of leaving somebody out there that should not be out there. We're going to start with Seattle at Dallas. So we're going to get into Seattle first here. And the Dallas Cowboys have been having themselves a heck of a season. It's overshadowed by how well I don't want to say it's overshadowed, but how well the Philadelphia Eagles are doing is obviously taking the most national exposure. But the Dallas Cowboys are holding their own, and they are doing a darn good job. They just have to be able to, number one, get to the playoffs, and number two, do something within the playoffs, because that's been an issue for the Dallas Cowboys, is they can get there, but they struggle to win once they're in. And hopefully for those Dallas Cowboy fans out there, that will change. The Cowboys are 8-3. The Seahawks are 6-5. And so that's something to look at here, as the Seahawks are not having themselves the greatest of seasons. They're not out of things yet, obviously, right? It's early on. Well, I should say early enough on. It's week 13. So the Seattle Seahawks are not out of it, but they have struggled, and, they've had their ups and downs and around the corners this season, unfortunately, for you Seahawk fans that are out there supporting this team. There has been some unfortunate struggles with the team, but they do have a lot of fantasy value, and there's a lot to be said about their fantasy worth that's out there, in my opinion. So Seattle with Kenneth Walker III, he didn't practice earlier this week. He has an oblique injury. If he's unable to go, and I said this last week, Zach Charbonnet can give you some more love here. I got him as a running back 3, though, because of the fact that he's playing the Dallas Cowboys defense. So I am not gung-ho about saying, yeah, definitely put that guy out there. That's going to be your guy. He's going to be able to do this, that, and the third. No, I think that putting him out there right now is not a terrible idea, but I got him as a running back 3 because I am hoping you don't have to rely on him to save your team, especially playing the Dallas Cowboys defense. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I both have them, or I have them both, I should say, speaking like Yoda. Both I have them. So, but I have both of them as Seahawks, you will. And my voice, normally I do it better, but I have not been, I've been under the weather the last couple of days. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, I have them as low-end 1s, high-end 2s, because I think there's value to both of these guys, but they're playing the Dallas Cowboys, again, to echo those sentiments. So I do have them as worthy of being put out there. I also kind of temper my expectations a little bit this week because they're playing the Dallas Cowboys. On the other side of it, Dak is a QB1 to me. CeeDee Lamb, I have him as a wide receiver 1. Jake Ferguson, who should be, he didn't have much. He goes up and down. I got him as a low-end 1, high-end 2, probably a 2 at tight end safely, I would say, for him, in my opinion. Brandon Cooks is a guy that I'd put out there as maybe a wide receiver 3, low-end 2, high-end 3. Like I said, CD a 1. Tony Pollard, I like Tony Pollard. I covered, Memphis and when Tony Pollard was there. And so, when I look at, and a lot of Memphis running backs in the NFL, as I have stated over and over again, when I look at Tony Pollard, I look at his numbers right now, 669 yards, 160 carries, 11 games played, 4.2 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns, and Beyond that, he has no touchdowns through the air, but he has caught 39 of the 46 balls thrown his way. I have him as a low end 1, high end 2 at running back this week. So I think that there's value on both sides for these teams. And, Dallas to me is just, they're a hotter team than Seattle in the NFC right now. Indianapolis at Tennessee. We'll take a look at Indy first, being the road team. If you have a question, make sure you send it in. We appreciate your questions as always all throughout the year, and everybody we've been able to shout out, including from the great states of California and Hawaii and so many different places. So thank you for your support and thank you for your love. I appreciate y'all so very much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, and for fantasy football in focus. For the Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor, he has that thumb injury and eyeing doing something about it. And so my prayers and my best and my well wishes go to Jonathan Taylor, and a God bless to him and his loved ones. Zach Moss gets some more value in this one, and I'm going to go ahead and put him as a low-end 2, high-end 3. And that's because, Zach Moss, I don't want you to have to rely on him, but I like the matchup that he's playing since he's playing Tennessee. And Tennessee's been a lot of things this year, but they haven't been that great. So I'm going to go ahead and say to put him out here in this game, but I got him as low-end 2, high-end 3 at running back if Jonathan Taylor obviously has to get better. Michael Pittman Jr., I have him as a wide receiver 2 this week, and outside of that, I don't have a lot of, guys that get me overly excited in fantasy-wise as far as output there. I mean, we look at Josh Downs, hasn't had himself a bad rookie season. He's got a couple touchdowns so far this season. I want to look at his last couple games with you here. I covered North Carolina. He played on the North Carolina Tar Heels. I've covered them for at least a decade. And so looking at how he's done as a rookie here and with Gardner Minshew at quarterback thus far, his recent games, 43 yards, 40, 10, 72. He had a back again. I'm going backwards here, I should say. So against the Browns, he had 125 yards. Against the Saints, he had 72. And he's been rather quiet since then. Carolina, he had 10 on one catch, 40 on 2 catches against New England, 43 against Tampa on 5 catches. So even playing not the best of teams, New England and Carolina, he's been rather quiet. So I don't know if I would call him more than a wide receiver 4 if I would put him out there. But Michael Pittman Jr., to me, still holds value, to go out there. On the other side, looking at the Tennessee Titans, the Titans, for me, a team that has gone through some struggles, like I said, and had some issues this season in figuring things out. Mike Vrabel's been a good head coach. He's had to deal with a lot of quarterback changes and trying to find the right guy. They've gone to Will Levis, their rookie, who was not a first-round pick, and they've gone to Will to see what he could do. Derrick Henry is worth the play in this game. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you that you should be out there playing Derrick Henry for sure. So I have Derrick Henry on my list. And then Tajay Spears, he's had some moments. He's done some different things. I covered him at Tulane. He played in the most recent Cotton Bowl, and he's caught 29 passes as a rookie. He's got almost 200 yards receiving, 254 yards on the ground, 5.1 yards a carry on 50 carries in 11 games, and he has 1 rushing touchdown. So I think Tajay is a flex for you. Probably a flex 3-ish, 4 this week, I would say. If you're going to go 4 deep, maybe he's somebody you put out there. As far as D-Hop goes, D-Hop is 1 yard away from 700 yards. He's got 4 touchdowns. And looking at his game log with Will Levis as his quarterback, he's had 49 yards most recently, no touchdowns. And then before that, he had 59 yards and a touchdown. He's only scored 1 touchdown in 4 weeks after having 3 against Atlanta, and he had no touchdowns before that. So trusting him to be a touchdown machine is a little, is something that I would not suggest you do. But somebody who's caught around 4 passes a game when you're looking at PPR, not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and put him as a wide receiver 2, in my opinion, just based on yards and not really scoring the ball that much this season. So I'll put him as a 2. Derrick Henry I still have as a 1, and that's really who I would say for that matchup. The Chargers at the New England Patriots. We're going to start with the Chargers as they are the road team. The Chargers, for me, are yet another team that I sit here and I kind of ask myself, why is this team not better? Why, they have talent in a lot of different areas, but they just haven't been able to take that talent and translate that talent into good wins, right? They're a team that sometimes makes the playoffs, but they'll come down to the wire with certain things. A couple of years ago, they came down to the last game in trying to make the playoffs, and they ended up not making it. But, I mean, they're okay. They're not a bad team, but they don't have a great record. They're kind of this, más o menos type of team out there, and that so-so type of team. So seeing what we're seeing with the Los Angeles Chargers, it's hard for me to say definitively, oh, yes, you got to play this guy. This guy is great. But when we go by the numbers in fantasy and, strictly look at the fact that they're playing the New England Patriots this week, this might be the week that you put a lot of those guys out there. Now, the Patriots have had some moments where they've been able to win some games and do some things, but the Patriots have, outside of that, a couple moments here, they have had themselves a pretty awful season. They're 2-9, worst that they've been under Bill Belichick, I believe. And, we go back and we look at Bill Belichick's record, and, it feels like, because a lot of people are the what have you done for me lately type of people, which I don't think you should be. And when you look at Bill Belichick, we go back in his history with the New England Patriots, and we say to ourselves, okay, his worst season was 5-11 this season. He's only had 3 losing seasons. Just to make a note of that. So, only 3 losing seasons, multiple seasons with double-digit wins, and obviously multiple Super Bowls. He has 6 Super Bowl rings and was the champion of the AFC. 3 of those times that they didn't win the Super Bowl, they were still able to rise to AFC champions. So, could this be the end of what we're seeing with the man? I mean, could this be the end of the world that that world of Bill Belichick, that dominance of Bill Belichick? Could we be seeing the end of that? And I think that there's definitely reason to believe that this thing is going to be changing at some point soon. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. And it's unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate for Bill Belichick, but with all those wins, eventually another team steps up, other things happen. He loses Tom Brady, and Tom Brady wins a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I think, obviously says a lot about what Tom had to do with those victories with the New England Patriots. So, Patriots not that great out there and have struggled themselves this season. But looking at the Chargers as the road team, Justin Herbert, he's got 20 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Eckler's doing his thing. He's got 4 touchdowns. He's played in 8 games. He's already had over 100 carries this season. He is the 3rd leading receiver in yardage. And Keenan Allen's already over 1,000 yards, and that's in 12 weeks. And he played 11 games. So in 11 games, he has over 1,100 yards, which means he's averaging 100 yards a game, which means you would be insane to not play Justin Herbert in this game, Austin Eckler, and Keenan Allen, all as ones, in my opinion. The New England Patriots, what can I say? What is there to say fantasy-wise and reality-wise that I would think these guys should be out there for you? I mean, Mac Jones' numbers haven't been great. He's got more interceptions than touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson, the wide receivers, nothing to write home about. And as far as Ramondre, he had just shy of 100 yards, 98 against the Giants most recently and a touchdown, but it was the Giants. He had 88 against Indianapolis. He had 87 against Washington and a touchdown. But you look at the good teams like Miami, he had 39 yards on 10 carries. Buffalo, pretty good team, 9 carries for 34 yards. The Raiders, he only had 46 yards on 10 carries, did have a touchdown. I mean, this season, 25 yards against Philly, 50 yards the first time around against Miami, who did better the second time they played him. He had 59 against the Jets, but didn't get into the end zone in that one. He had 30 against the Cowboys. So against better teams, he's not really performing. So, I mean, if you want to make him a 3, maybe you can make him a 3. But I would hope that Ramondre Stevenson is not somebody you need to save your season or to help your season right now. I'd probably be leaving him off my list if I were you. But if you have to go 3 or 4 deep, especially in a deep league, maybe you look to him. Hunter Henry, who I mentioned before, a tight end for the New England Patriots. Hunter Henry, for me, remember that Hunter Henry in his days used to be a Charger, and sometimes guys play up when they play their old teams. His numbers haven't been great. He's got 3 touchdowns this season in 10 games, 3 touchdowns. The most yardage he had was 51, which is against the Cowboys. 52. He had 56. This is where, this is where I didn't look at the bottom first. He had 56 against Philly, 52 against Miami, 51 against Dallas. Those are his best numbers this season. And unlike the Ramondre Stevenson numbers, where his best numbers come against the not-so-great teams, and against the good teams, his numbers aren't great, the opposite is the case for Hunter Henry. His best numbers came against the best teams that they played this season. He scored against Philly in the first game of the season for him, scored against Philly, and had 56 yards, his most he's had all season in a single game. He scored against Miami, had 52 yards, and then he had 51 yards against Dallas. So Hunter Henry, not a bad play, and especially because he's playing his old team. Maybe Mac Jones is going to try and get the ball out to him a little bit more here. So I would say if you want to play Hunter Henry in this game, I have him as a mid-range tight end 1, mid to low-range tight end 1, I would say. But again, some guys play up when they play their former teams, and his best games coming against the better teams says something about him for sure, that when the Patriots have played better competition and guys like Ramondre Stevenson kind of fade away, that's when Hunter Henry has had his best output, is when he should be most challenged. Detroit at New Orleans is the next game that we're going to get into here. Detroit and New Orleans are in 2 different places. New Orleans is in a horrible division in the NFC South, and they're under 500 at 5-6. The Lions are 8-3 and arguably could be at least 9-2. In this matchup, I would say definitely David Montgomery. As far as Jahmyr Gibbs, he's been utilized too. I like them both in this game. I got Montgomery as a 1, Jahmyr as a 2, and that's how they show up on the depth chart. Amon-Ra St. Brown as a 1, Sam Laporta as a tight end 1, and Jared Goff. The question is, and you probably with so many, you might have Josh Allen, you might have Justin Fields, you may have picked up Josh Dobbs, who's on the Vikings now. You might have Lamar Jackson. So maybe this is your week to play Jared Goff. It's not a terrible week to play Jared Goff. So, I'm okay with this. I don't think New Orleans, their defense is a massive threat to anybody. I think Detroit is going to be able to, and you say things like that, and then you're like, now they're going to shut down Detroit or something like that. But no, I think Detroit's going to take care of business. Jared has 18 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. He has over 3,000 yards in 11 games already this season. And Jared Goff, the former number 1 pick who went to the Rams, we take a look at some of his numbers recently. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions at the Chargers, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against Chicago, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against Green Bay. So in these last 3 games, 6 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, 18 touchdowns to 8 interceptions overall. As I said, he does throw interceptions, though. We're looking at multiple games where he's thrown at least 1 interception. In 11 games this season, he has 5 games where he's thrown an interception. So almost half the games that he's in, he has thrown a pick. So if that works against you, then, that's something to look at. but he also has multiple games of 2 touchdowns, including the last 3. He has 2 games with 3 touchdowns, Carolina and Seattle. He's playing New Orleans, and I would say that he's a QB1 this week, especially if you have some of those guys off. That would make sense if you did, the Josh Allens and the Lamar Jacksons of the world. So I would look at playing Jared Goff this week. On the other side of it, Alvin Kamara, he definitely needs to be put out there for you. Chris Olave has a concussion, so you got to monitor that. A.T. Perry, who I covered in college, he's got a shot to get out there and get some work in. Rashid Shaheed is questionable with a quad injury, but he might have to go out there. If not, then it's Lynn Bowden Jr. and it's Keith Kirkwood that they're going to have to rely on with the Saints. And I think that might mean that the Saints are going to be off the field on offense a lot quicker, which puts Jared Goff and his offense out there, which puts even more value to the Detroit Lions this week. Taysom Hill is the true flex. If you want to flex him out, you want to put Alvin Kamara out there. Chris Olave in the concussion protocol, you just have to monitor that. Rashid Shaheed, I have him as a wide receiver 4, and there's nobody else that I would really tell you to play on the team. Atlanta at the Jets before we take a step aside here inside of Fantasy Football in Focus, our weekly fantasy football content inside a wake-up call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by the fantastic team and a great place to watch the games in the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And, of course, you can call them for takeout and delivery at 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. So make sure that you get in touch with them. So with that being said, we're going to go Atlanta at the Jets, and we'll go with Atlanta first as they are the road squad. Atlanta, Desmond Ridder back as a starter, and it's been up and down. Bijan Robinson has been fantastic. Tyler Algier is somebody. I got Tyler Algier as, I think he's talented, but Bijan is the starter. And sometimes that means that they both eat, and sometimes it means that Tyler watches Bijan eat. So in that sense, I would put Tyler as a flex, as a running back 3. I like Bijan as a 1. And I know they're playing the Jets, but I like Bijan still as a 1. Drake London, I have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 this week. And Kyle Pitts, I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous what's going on with him in Atlanta. I think, he's talented, but that namesake is not going to just continue to make people put him out there. I'm going to still have him as a 1, but he's a mid-range, mid to low range tight end 1. I mean, how can I sit here and say he's definitely a 1 where his utilization is not really there and the numbers aren't there for him? So not really feeling gung-ho about anything there. As far as Breece Hall goes, who's been the leading rusher on the Jets, looking at his numbers, 25 yards most recently. Before that, 23, 28, 50. He had 177 against the Denver Broncos on the road in a 10-point win. 8 yards a carry, 22 carries for 177 yards and a touchdown. They got a new quarterback in Tim Boyle, who's going to be taking over for the Jets. So we'll see what that looks like. Normally that means they lean on their receiver and their tight end. So Conklin might have some more value in this game. And so will Breece Hall, arguably. But in Atlanta, I don't fear Atlanta's defense. So I would put Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver 2, Breece Hall as a running back, low end running back 2, Conklin still as a tight end 2, but some value can be there because every quarterback has their guy, and Tim Boyle is going to be the new quarterback that's going to be out there. I do want to take a look really quick at Kyle Pitts' numbers this season. In 11 games, 441 yards. He has 1 touchdown in 11 games. That's the thing that really kind of smarts. And he's got 37 catches in 11 games. So when we look at that and we really break that down and we say 37 catches in 11 games, we're talking about under 4 catches a game. So that's not what you expect from the guy that arguably, even though he's a tight end, should be the leading receiver on this squad. So, mid to probably low range tight end 1, I would say, in my opinion. We're going to have Arizona and Pitt right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora after this fast break where sports truly meets life. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, hanging out here with you inside of Fantasy Football in Focus every Wednesday in Hour 2 on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented by the wonderful team at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Make sure you head out to the Wildcat Sports Pub and show them some love. Their food is fantastic. They have their giant screen TV. They have leather couches, high tops, tables. It's great for the kids. It's great for birthday parties, anniversaries, get-togethers, dates, family events, sporting events, bringing teams in for banquets and, just to have dinner and have a good time. So the Wildcat Sports Pub is a multi-purpose facility with fantastic food and even better service. You can find them on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And, of course, you can find them by calling 315-487-2222 for takeout and delivery. And also, if you want to reserve their room, you can also give them a call, 315-487-2222. Get in touch with them on the space, and if you would like to have that room reserved, as well as takeout and delivery. And, of course, we'll see you out there as well 7 days a week supporting local in central and upstate New York. With that being said, time to get into Arizona at Pittsburgh. The Arizona Cardinals at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Arizona Cardinals have not been great, and neither have the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have some good wins, right? Arizona's got a good victory up against the Cowboys. They're 2-10 this season, but they do have a win, believe it or not, over them boys. And on the other side of it, we look at Pitt, who's 7-4, and as many woes as they've had offensively and, having trouble at times winning at home, they've still been able to put themselves in good footing. They're 3-1 in AFC play, and they are 7-4 overall. So something to be said about that. Arizona is 0-4 in NFC play. So taking a look at Arizona first. Do I feel great about anybody on Arizona? Short answer, no. So Kyler Murray is back. Taking a look at Kyler Murray and what he's been able to do. He's got 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions over 3 games. The team's lost 2 of those 3 games. He has 249, 214, and most recently 256 yards. His completion percentage has been 59.4, 66.7, and 60. And he had 0 to 1 touchdown interception, 1 to 1, and 1 to 0. So he is doing a better job, right? 0 to 1, 1 to 1, 1 to 0 has been an actual complete flip. No touchdown, interception. Add the touchdown with the interception, take away the interception, keep the touchdown. So, I mean, I guess that's some good stuff that's gone on here most recently. I mean, when you look at the offense under Kyler Murray, they got defeated at home by 23 points against the Rams in division of the NFC West. And James Conner had 27 yards on the ground. Michael Carter had 19 yards on the ground coming from the Jets. The Jets finally letting him go this season after seemingly he was going to be the guy, and then they went and drafted Breece Hall, and then they held on to Michael Carter when Breece went down with an injury in his rookie season last season, and then they let him go this year. Marquise Hollywood Brown, 88 yards, not too bad. Trey McBride, 60 yards as a tight end, and then Greg Dortch had a touchdown for the Arizona Cardinals, the only touchdown that Kyler Murray threw. So do I feel great about anybody? No. I would say Marquise Hollywood Brown, I would put him as a wide receiver 2. I would put Trey McBride as a tight end 2. I would put James Conner as a low end 2 at running back or high end 3. Kenny Pickett on the other side of things, he's questionable with his ankle injury, so you have to monitor that. Najee Harris, I would say, is worth the play. I got him as a running back 2. You know, and you talk about the most recent games or what's happened here for Pitt. Like I said, their record looks good. You know, Pitt's record doesn't look bad at all. They're 7-3. They're in the playoff hunt. But, you know, they've had this up and down season. Now, they defeated the Bengals 16-10. And when I say up and down season, their fantasy season's been hard to kind of project here because it's been kind of wonky. And at the same time, I mean, you know, losing a game at home and this and that. Pat Freiermuth, who's been quiet. Most recently, he had 120 yards. He led the team. Nobody was half of him. The closest was George Pickens, who had 58 yards. So Najee Harris had 99 yards on the ground and a touchdown and did not have anything receiving. Kenny Pickett was 24-33, 278 yards, didn't have a touchdown or an interception. So, I mean, they're playing Arizona. So this might be the week that you have to put Kenny Pickett out there because of the fact of the quarterbacks that are off currently right now. But looking at Kenny Pickett's injury, and I just want to take a look at this discomfort. It's a significant injury after, and we could look at, you know, where things is going. It's an ankle discomfort that he is dealing with currently. So we just have to monitor that, and you know there's a good chance we could see Mitchell Trubisky head out there in this game. And if Mitchell Trubisky comes out there in this game, what is that going to look like? So I think, you know, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, if Kenny Pickett is able to go, maybe you put him out there this week. If you have team quarterback, which we have in all of our wake-up call fantasy football leagues, and the reason why we have that is for times like this so that you don't get punished if your quarterback goes down. Like if Kenny Pickett goes down and Mitch Trubisky throws 3 touchdowns, if you're in my leagues, you get everything that they did cumulatively between quarterbacks. If you're in other leagues and you have Kenny Pickett and he goes down, let's say he goes down 5 minutes into the first quarter, then it's like you played somebody that was on a bye week. You know, it's like you put somebody out there that's not even playing, and I don't think that that's fair. And so that's why the team quarterback situation has been allotted there. And because, you know, different teams over time have played different quarterbacks, right? And when you get to certain points in the season, this guy might be injured toward the end of the season. Well, we might move this guy around, sit this guy out. So, I think it's good to have a team quarterback. If Kenny Pickett's able to go, I still think we might see Mitch Trubisky. They are playing Arizona, so I'm going to say Kenny Pickett is a low-end 1, high-end 2 due to injury. I would have him a little bit higher, maybe a mid-range 1 this week with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen off, that you might want to put him out there. Outside of that, I think Najee Harris is worth the play. I have him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 at running back. And then Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Deontay Johnson, to me, has been somewhat underwhelming, but in this game, I'm going to say, and every quarterback has their guys. So if it's more a Mitch, then it's like, okay, what does that do for George Pickens? So I'm going to say for Pickens, I'm going to put him as a wide receiver 2. I'm going to put Deontay as a 2, but below Pickens in my ranker. And Pat Freiermuth, I'm going to put as a tight end 1, because if Mitch comes out, he might want to go to him more, right? That could be a safer bet. Now, Mitch has had more experience than some other backups out there in the NFL right now, so he may not just be running back, tight end, but at the same time, with that more experience and Freiermuth being on the team these last few years, that could help out the both of them and could help you out. I was waiting for Freiermuth to break out, but the thing that's hard is I'm going to put him as like a mid-range tight end 1 this week, only because of the fact that, he's been so strange this year. 3 yards, 2 yards, 41, 7, 7, 120. And that's from first game that he played in, which was at home against San Fran, all the way to now. He's played in 6 games this year. So I'm going to have him as a low-end 1. I said mid-range 1. I'm going to say low-end. No, I'm going to say low-end 1. That makes sense. Mid-range, you want to buy. Well, I'm going to keep him at mid. See, I'm going to fight with myself on the air right now, and I do this a lot when it comes to, my kind of gut feeling on some of these guys. It's the factor of Mitch Trubisky. It's the factor of Pat Freiermuth being so all over the place this year in his output. But I'm going to say mid-range. I'm going to say mid-range tight end 1. They're playing Arizona. Mitch could go to him more. It's just a lot of what-ifs, but I think the talent is there. So I'll say mid-range 1. Miami at Washington. 2 teams in totally different directions. We're going to go to the Miami Dolphins first, and then we'll go to the Washington Commanders in this game. So Washington just all over the place. They're 4-8. They've been in a bunch of games. They just don't finish it. Miami's almost exactly the flip, but a little bit better. They're 8-3 this season. Tua Tagovailoa worth the play. With so many guys hurt in the backfield, Raheem Mostert is worth the play. And because they're playing Washington, I'll put him as a 1. Tyreek Hill is a 1. Jalen Waddle, I'm as a low-end 1, high-end. I'd probably just put him as a 2 at wide receiver. And the value's definitely with Miami. On the other side of it, for the Washington Commanders, they do have talent. I'm not going to say they don't. They do have talent. Terry McLaurin always finds a way. And Brian Robinson Jr. hasn't been too shabby either. So, by the numbers, most recently here for the Washington Commanders, taking a look at their game against Dallas on Thanksgiving where they lost by 35 points. As far as output goes, Brian Robinson Jr. still did some things. He caught a couple passes, led the receiving or rushing core, had 64 yards cumulatively. Curtis Samuel had 100 yards. Jahan Dotson had 52. Terry McLaurin had 50. So, in this game against Miami, I'll say Jahan Dotson's a 3. I'll say Terry McLaurin is still a 1. In my opinion, I'll say Brian Robinson Jr. is a lower end 2 at running back, and I'd leave Sam Howell off, in my opinion. I think there's more value on Miami, but there's definitely some value with Washington, especially losing by 35 and still having a 100-yard receiver, and Brian Robinson Jr. doing some things on the ground and in receiving. Denver at Houston, folks. Denver has had some big moments this season in their first season with Sean Payton as their head coach. Houston has had themselves a really, really nice season. Above expectations, I would imagine, from the outside looking in. The Denver Broncos are 6-5. The Houston Texans are also 6-5. So in this matchup, looking at how it's gone so far for the Denver Broncos, with Russell Wilson, who, I mean, they're on a 5-game winning streak. They beat the Packers at home, the Chiefs at home, the Bills on the road, the Vikings at home, and the Browns at home. And looking at Denver on this 5-game winning streak, I mean, Russell Wilson, he was okay most recently. Javonte Williams, to me, is worth the play. I have him as a running back 2. I have Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver 2. And Judy's just kind of fallen off the face of the earth. So, I mean, you might want to flex him out. But Marvin Mims Jr. had some moments. I guess the only guy I would feel good putting you out there is putting him out there is Cortland Sutton, who I have as a wide receiver too. Russell Wilson, I wouldn't put as my QB1. I don't see that. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, now CJ Stroud, he is having himself a Rookie of the Year type of season. CJ Stroud, the team is on they've won 3 of their last 4. They lost to the Jaguars after defeating the Jaguars on the road. They lost to the Jaguars at home in that win for Jacksonville 24-21. This past weekend, C.J. Stroud had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, over 300 yards, 26 of 36, and he was a leading rusher and had a touchdown on the ground. So C.J. Stroud, to me, is worth the play in this game, especially if he's your backup. Nico Collins is worth the look, too, as a wide receiver 2. Devin Singletary is worth a flex potentially here. I would say is a running back 3 because of his involvement in the passing game and the running game. Tank Dell, who also had a touchdown with Nico Collins. I got Tank and Collins as wide receiver 2s in this matchup. Denver's defense is not bad. We've seen how well they can play against the Kansas Cities of the world. So I'm going to say that Tank Dell and Nico Collins are safely 3s, maybe lower end 2s, but still looking at putting them out there in this matchup. Singletary, Collins, and Tank both give you something. I'm a little wary of the fact that they're playing Denver's defense, though, because Denver's been better than people give them credit for. Carolina at Tampa. The Carolina Panthers are fighting to get that number 1 pick, but they can't because they gave it away to Chicago with all those trades that they did to bring in Bryce Young. So even if they got it, they don't got it. And Carolina, to me, looking at them first in this, they're 1-10 in the country right now. Tampa's 4-7. Carolina is just a mess. Adam Thielen's done some good things. If you want to flex him out as a wide receiver 3, you could do that. Outside of that, Baker Mayfield has an ankle injury, and God willing, he'll be okay. He's had himself, the team doesn't have a great record at 4-7, but he's been able to do okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'll say that, if Baker's able to go, I think this team, they're playing Carolina for goodness sakes, but they might want to sit him because they're playing Carolina, give Kyle Trask some work. I thought Trask would get work earlier this season, but he may get it now, the Florida Gator alum. So I'd like to see Kyle Trask out there, especially if Baker's not 100%. Let him rest. You're playing Carolina. If you have to put him out there, you can put him out there. But, Kyle Trask going out there, I would think he can handle it. Rashad White is worth the play here. I got him as an RB1, especially because of who they're playing. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin as wide receiver 1s, I would say, in this matchup. And I'm not really sold about the tight end, but definitely more value on Tampa's side in fantasy and in reality. Cleveland at the Rams. The Cleveland Browns have to play without Deshaun Watson, which is sad because they had to play without Deshaun Watson last year, but that was because of a suspension. Now they have to play without Deshaun Watson because of an injury that I hope he, God willing, gets better from very soon. The team is 7-4, and they're in the playoff hunt, but now without Deshaun Watson, what will they do? Dorian Thompson-Robinson has a concussion. He's in protocol. They put P.J. Walker out there. They put Dorian Thompson-Robinson out there. Now it looks like it's going to be P.J. Walker again. So I think the value goes to Jerome Ford in this matchup. And, Amari Cooper, he's hurt with a rib injury. So you got to look to Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman if he's not able to go. I think with P.J. Walker coming in, I think David Njoku is a tight end 2. Jerome Ford is a running back 2 in this matchup. On the Rams side of things, Matt Stafford is able to go. And this might be the game that you put him out in. So now remember, Cleveland's defense does have some good moments. They've got some talent, and they have been a challenge at times. But I think Matty Stafford, especially with the guys that are off this week at quarterback, not a bad week to play Matt Stafford. I got him as a mid-range QB1. Kyron Williams, I have him in this matchup as a running back 2. Cooper Kupp as a 1. Puka Nacua as right behind Cooper Kupp I would say Cooper Kupp is a 1, Puka as a 2 in this matchup. Higbee as a tight end 2. More on the Rams side of things, but I don't put it past Cleveland's defense to make some plays. San Francisco going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. This could be what we're going to see in the not too distant future of the NFL playoffs for 2023-24. We have an 8-3 San Francisco 49ers team. We have a 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles team. This is one of the games where Philly could trip up and the Cowboys could get some help. I would say that you got to play Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. I have him as a 2, but still put him out there, wide receiver 2. George Kittle, he hasn't been, the George Kittle that I think we thought he was going to be a couple of years ago, but George Kittle, I have him as a low-end I'm going to say mid-range tight end 1, because there's not a lot of great tight ends out there, so I'm going to say he's still a tight end 1. Deebo, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, worth the play. On the other side, Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, flex out Kenneth Gainwell as a running back 3, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, all worth the play. If Dallas Goedert's able to go, then take a look at that. If not, it's Jack Stoll, and I don't see any reason why you should put him out there. We're going to take our final step aside in this Fantasy Football in Focus on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. We'll be back for Sunday and Monday night right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Avenue, is worth the drive out there every single week. You never know what GG Cards and Breaks is going to have from week to week. You never know what they're going to have from day to day. Constantly getting product in, buying product, selling different things, and bringing in some awesome, awesome stuff for all of us sports card fans. Get yourself out to GG Cards and Breaks today. Open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. GG Cards and Breaks with singles, packs, graded cards, as well as boxes. The only place I know that has every MLB, NFL, and NBA team in their own individual box for you to sift through and find some really awesome cards, not just base cards, but to find rookie cards, autograph cards, patch cards as well. And you can find soccer, hockey, basketball, football, baseball, and more, including AEW and packs featuring all sports at GG Cards and Breaks that also will give you Pokemon and the new Disney Lorcana. Something for every single sports card fan, whether you're just becoming a fan, just becoming a collector, or you've been doing it your whole life. GG Cards and Breaks, same hobby, new memories, on site at 639 Delmar Place every day of the week. We'll see you there right off at Teal Avenue. Let them know the DT sent you to GG Cards and Breaks. DT to GG makes a lot of sense to me. with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Sunday Night Football, we got an interesting game here, folks. Sunday Night Football, you would think when you saw it that it would be Pat Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers. Did they make this game 2 years too early? What did they do here with this one? Well, we got Kansas City at Green Bay. Patty Mahomes is worth the play. Isaiah Pacheco, I have him as in this game, I'm going to put him as a low-end 1, high-end 2, safely as a 2 at running back. You should play him in this game. It's just hard for me to say that he's an outright 1 because of the output. Travis Kelce, I got him obviously as a 1. Rashee Rice, first 100-yard game of his rookie career. This is his rookie season, his NFL career, I should say. Justin Watson got a touchdown. Sky Moore, he gets in a few targets. They're playing Green Bay. Rashee Rice I have as a 3. Justin Watson I have as a 4 if you have to put 3 to 4 wide receivers out there. On the other side of it, Aaron Jones, he is hurt with an MCL injury. God willing, he'll be okay. A.J. Dillon, we know that Kansas City's defense has gotten better, so I'll put A.J. Dillon as a 2 at running back. Christian Watson for me this year. Christian Watson picked up last season as a rookie in the second round, and Green Bay not typically going out and getting wide receivers early on, but they were able to get him. And, we're looking at the fact that Green Bay is 5-6. Jordan Love, teams won 3 out of their last 4 games. They beat the Rams at home. They lost to the Steelers on the road, beat the Chargers at home. So they played the 2 LA teams at home, which is better than having to go to the West Coast, obviously. And they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving, despite the Lions being a really, really good team this season. Pretty darn good team, I should say. We'll say really good by the end of the season, depending on how they do. The Green Bay Packers beat them on the road on Thanksgiving. Jordan Love, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. A.J. Dillon, 43 yards on the ground on 14 carries in a game where we didn't see Aaron Jones. Christian Watson, 94 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Dillon, 3 catches on 3 targets, 38 yards. Jaden Reed, who stepped up, he had a touchdown. Tucker Kraft had a touchdown as well. Tucker Kraft, a rookie, pick number 78 in this year's draft, round 3, 78 overall. The tight end out of South Dakota State going there. So something to be said about that. Tucker Kraft, good job for him. And Jaden Reed, who is the rookie selected a round earlier than Tucker in the second round, pick 50 overall, 2023 out of Michigan State. So, for this one, for me, I'm going to say Christian Watson is I'm going to put him as a 1. I'm going to put him as a 1 at wide receiver. I'm not going to put him at like top 10 wide receiver in the country right now, but I'm going to put him as like a mid-range 1. I'm going to put Tucker Kraft as I'm going to put him as a low-end 1, high-end 2 at tight end, and Jaden Reed as a flex wide receiver. This Green Bay offense might have something to it, but I definitely have more value on Kansas City, and like I said, their defense has gotten better this year. I don't think Jacksonville's ever had a Monday Night Football game, so, has the Jaguars ever had a Monday night, and not only Monday night, but a Monday Night Football game at home? So let's take a look at this. Jaguars, they have a 8-7 record on Monday, but I want to look at this and say to myself, so they did have, okay, all right, 2011, yeah, so it's been a really long time. I don't remember them playing on Monday night, so that's why I asked the question. And actually, I have never covered the team. Well, no, that's not true. I did cover them when they had some Monday nights at home. So they started their Monday night games in 1997 on September 22nd against Pitt, and they won 30-21. Then they had one in October 12th, 1998. I'm going to talk about more of this with Papa Joe, so I won't go through all of these. But they started off on Monday night 5-0. Then they lost 3 in a row. Then they won 2. Then they lost 3. Then they're 1-1 in their last 2. They played on October 24th, 2011, 3 days after my birthday, against Baltimore, beat them 12-7. And then December 5th, they played against the San Diego Chargers at the time at home, lost that game 38-14 on December 5th, 2011. So it has been 12 years since the Jaguars had a Monday Night Football game, which makes sense because I've covered the team on-site, on location in most cases of the last 13 years, this being my 13th season covering the team, being credentialed with the team. So that makes sense that I haven't experienced it because in 13 years of covering the team, we have seen them. In 13 years of me covering the team, they have had Monday Night Football they haven't had Monday Night Football in the last 12 years of my 13 years covering the team. So makes sense why I have not seen it. It feels like they've never done it, but Cincinnati's going to be playing Jacksonville in Jacksonville. God willing, I will be on site on location for this matchup after Syracuse announces their head coach. So it has the introductory press conference, I should say, for the head coach. They already announced Fran Brown. So let's go to this game. Jake Browning is going to be playing here, not Joe Burrow, unfortunately, and God willing, Joe will get better. Speaking of Joe Mixon is worth the play. I still have him as an RB1. I have Jamar Chase as a wide receiver 1. T. Higgins is hurt. He has a hamstring injury. Hamstring injuries are the ones, hamstring and groin, especially with wide receivers and running backs, that I always look to and say, okay, got to be careful with all of this. And I definitely think you should monitor that. But Tyler Boyd is a wide receiver 3 if Higgins isn't able to go. Chase and Mixon are ones in my opinion. Trevor Lawrence in this matchup, QB1. Travis Etienne, I still have him as an RB1. Dearness Johnson, he's had some moments. Tank Bigsby is falling away. Christian Kirk, I have him as a wide receiver 1. Calvin Ridley, I have as a wide receiver 1 right behind Christian Kirk just because of the output that Kirk has gotten more consistently. And Zay Jones, I have him as a wide receiver 3. Evan Engram, I have him as a mid-range. I would say I got him. Well, no, because Trevor targets him a lot. I'm going to say mid-range tight end 1. I mean, I have him as a tight end 1. Do I have him as a top 5 tight end right now in fantasy? No, but he's one of the safety blankets for Trevor. I think I think that Christian Kirk, Evan Engram, Travis Etienne, and Trevor Lawrence have been worth the play all season. I know Trevor's had some up and down moments, and I think Calvin Ridley, I mean, he comes on, but when he comes on, dang it, he does. So hard to keep him off. So Christian Kirk, as far as PPR output more consistently, I got him a little bit above Calvin Ridley, but I think they're both worth the play. So with that being said, those are my thoughts for your fantasy football week, and I appreciate you tuning in here. And a lot of Jaguars talent there, and we'll see what Cincinnati does sans Joe Burrow, unfortunately. But I do think Jamar Chase obviously is still somebody that you got to key in on. Tyler Boyd could get some pub, and Joe Mixon, of course. But what did the man say to me earlier on this season, Roy Robertson Harris? He said, stop the run, go have fun, and they've been able to do that a lot. So Jacksonville, I think a lot of talent out there. I know it's been up and down, but I still have Trevor Lawrence, fantasy-wise, but I still have Trevor Lawrence as a 1, and I have, his weapons out there. Most recently against the Texans when they won 24-21 on the road, Trevor had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 364 yards, 23 of 38. Etienne had 56 yards, only 2.8 yards a carry on 20 carries, not great. Ridley had 89 yards, 6 targets, 5 catches, and a tutty. Christian Kirk had 89 yards as well on 1 less catch, 4 catches on 7 targets. So that's why I think you should put them both out there. And Evan Engram was targeted 8 times, caught 5 for 49 yards, which is really good for a tight end. And Evan Engram's had consistency throughout the season. So, we look at his numbers, 49, 57, 67, 59, had a low one of 28 in a win over Buffalo, 41, 45, 88, 12, which is a terrible game against San Fran, in which they had a terrible game as a team, 29 and 49. So, more in the 40 to 50 range than not, but does have a couple more quiet days. But he's catching, his catches this season from the beginning of the season to now, 5, 6, 7, 7, 4, 7, 5, 10, 4, 4, 5. And those are some good numbers to me for a tight end. So that's why I think he's a tight end 1. Might not be in the top 5 yet, but he can get there. So with that being said, Fantasy Football in Focus If you have any questions after this show goes live, make sure you send a message to me in the comments here on the video itself, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Watch all the games there, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Takeout and delivery if you're going to watch stuff at home. You can call 315-487-2222. And with the holiday season here, if you want to reserve some time in their special private room, you can go ahead and call them today at 315-487-2222 as well. I want to thank Mary Grimes for the Dolphin Dive and congratulate her, her staff, and the student athletes, as well as Lemoyne as a college in its entirety for the first Division I win in the women's basketball's first Division I season, just 5 games into the season. God bless. And love Seamus as always. So much appreciation and much respect to Seamus Shanley. So many thanks to Seamus for being a part of the show as always, and for repping West Genesee, Central and Upstate New York, proving that you can come from this community, make it to a Power 5 school, be a Division I player, become a starter, and win a bowl game. So much love and much respect to Seamus Shanley, and much appreciation for him being in law enforcement, protecting our community as he does so very well. So God bless to Seamus and to his loved ones for that. And also congratulations on being a dad. So always love. And of course, to the Wildcat Sports Pub for our fantasy football coverage every single week. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora comes to you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on internet streaming radio on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once we go live, we jump into the archives on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search any one of these, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So make sure that you search and you find us, and we appreciate y'all so very much. Big time thanks, speaking of appreciation, to our incredible partners in Central and Upstate New York. Much love to Carvel DeWitt. Go there today to get my Sunday buy one, get one. The DT Dolphin, don't let the cold weather fool you. The DT Dolphin tastes good every day of the year. It is an ode to the Lemoyne Dolphins, and it's exclusively at Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is mint chocolate chip, green for the Dolphins, topped off with hot fudge, whipped cream, a cherry, green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. Go and get the DT Dolphin today at Carvel DeWitt. Mom and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, the perfect place for your gift baskets and tins for the holiday season on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. The Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks. Chick-fil-A Cicero is now reopened after their refurbishment. Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, not only great because of the fact that they are Chick-fil-A's and the food is fantastic, but these are the best teams that I've ever seen work at a Chick-fil-A, and that is thanks to the fearless leader that helped to put them all together with his leadership staff, Mr. Jimmer Sikowski. Canine Camp Dog Daycare and Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the only place I would trust with your dog any time of the year. The daycare, 315-437-7110. The dog boarding campground, 315-299-4013. Call them today. It is holiday season. You don't want to not have a cabin for your dog if they have to be boarded, and you don't want to not be able to bring them to the daycare over the next couple months here, so make sure you call them today. PB&J's Lunchbox, taste the difference every single week with awesome traditional favorites that they put their own PB&J stamp on, which makes them oh so good every single week. Great Lakes Honda City, Avicoli's, Mother's Cupboard, where I have my own sandwich, the Cuse McMother. Celebrate Fran Brown getting hired by getting a Cuse McMother today. Bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Cut it up and have it with syrup 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on 3709 James Street in Syracuse. Synonymous with Syracuse is Mother's Cupboard. North Star Nutrition and Nutrition Wave, where you can get my own drink. Walk into either location and say, I want the mic drop. And they'll hit that button right on the screen, and they will get you my signature tea. Blackberry, blueberry, pomegranate, strawberry, and watermelon had a baby, and it tastes so good. Go to North Star Nutrition on 628 South Main Street in in North Syracuse, and to Nutrition Wave on 6197 New York Route 31 in Cicero today and ask for the Mic Drop at North Star Nutrition and Nutrition Wave. Pizza Man, and of course, proud to be exclusive multimedia marketing partners of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, AD and DT, featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, as well as the Dolphin Dive with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. Find all of this content on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora's YouTube channel, where many of you are right now. That is youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and the notification bell, and you will find the Lemoyne playlist on our channel. You can also find Lemoyne by going to wakeupcalldt.com. Underneath exclusive partners, every Wednesday is Dolphin Time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, featuring these AD and DT and Dolphin Dive specials. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com, and as always, fins up.
Dan Tortora proudly brings you
Is that for real? Are you kidding me?
the
Maybe that'll be my annoying moment of the week, is the fact that my annoying moment decided to decide when it was going to be up here on the broadcast. It said, hey, I want to be a couple days early. No, sir. It's time for the Bobcats. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse come to you with the Bobcat Buzz and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. The Bobcats can be found every single month on Wake Up Call, and they can be found 24/7, 365 by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, click subscribe and the notification bell, and find our playlist entitled BSC Syracuse Bobcats. You can also find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com and under exclusive partners, clicking on BSC Syracuse. The Bryan and Stratton Syracuse Bobcats facing off tonight, and so excited to see them back on the court. Their home games are played at Allen Hall on OCC's campus, a beautiful venue for a beautiful season for men's and women's basketball for the Bobcats. Go out and see them tonight and all throughout the season. And if for more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. As always, go Bobcats. So with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I hope you have a fantastic day. Please stay safe out there with the snow and the roads and the cold. Big shout out to Mary Grimes, Seamus Shanley, the Wildcat Sports Pub for all they do, including partnering with us with our fantasy football coverage on Wake Up Call. I hope you have a fantastic day, a wonderful fantasy football week, and I look forward to talking with you very soon. God bless. No stress. Do your best.